of the day. What's your reaction to the Taylor Swift engagement?
Yes, I know. It was crazy. I mean, not that surprised. She seemed very happy with him, and very happy for her and Travis, obviously. I don't know. It's just always great. I just love love in general. So, I know. It's great to see her find someone that she really feels like she meshes with. So.
Yeah, well, and going back to 1500 metre racing. So, obviously, big day today. Are the nerves kind of more or less than USA's? How are you feeling?
Probably a little more. I think USA's, it was like I felt very confident, and I feel very confident about this race, but USA's you have like a 3-place buffer versus like here it's like either you win or you don't, and that's it. So it's a little more pressure because of that, but I'm still just I don't know, hyping myself up and believing in myself to go make it happen.
And did you learn anything from racing Daniel Koech for the first time in Brussels?
I mean, yeah, I think just like, especially in a race like that where it was like I wasn't really finding good positioning for a lot of it, I kind of could see just a little bit of like how that kick kind of was for both Niels and Koech and how it was different. So yeah, I picked up a couple of points, I'd say.
Yeah, I guess Niels Laros is kind of his kick is a bit crazy. You've experienced it twice now. What's the thinking to try and neutralise that come tomorrow? Is that a trade secret?
I don't know if it's a secret, but I think I don't think you can ever really like neutralize someone's kick. I'd like to say. I feel like a lot of times like you just have to kick harder, kick faster, and I think what this race is. What this race means to me, I'm kind of hoping and making sure that I'm in the position I need to be also, I think will allow me to kind of respond in the way that I want to, and hopefully be, whether I'm in front of him or behind him, still come away with the win at the end of it. So it's going to be tough, and I think, especially if it rains tomorrow, it's going to be even tougher, like conditions,
Yeah, it's a different kind of race. Have you raced in those kind of conditions before? And, what do you think that does to you, to your racing, or to the race in general?
I do hate rain. I'm not afraid to admit that. But I can accept that it will probably rain, and also that, weather like that, I think it kind of separates people who really want it from the people who are kind of just there. And I'm definitely one of those people who not just wants it, kind of needs it. So, I think that'll also kind of make it, much more race about like grit and just, really determining who wants it more.
And obviously in Brussels you were I think you were trying to avoid getting boxed in, which kind of meant you ran most of the race in lane 2, and that I think there's a couple of people who kind of pointed out that obviously cost you 10-15 metres, and obviously that's the second and a half by which you missed out on the win there. So have you kind of thought about have you reflected on that? Have you kind of analysed that, and any kind of thoughts on how you kind of get in the right place without obviously boxing yourself in?
Yeah. I think really the thing is, like you kind of really have to be either at the very front or like the very back, and like that's kind of the decision I'm gonna have to make tomorrow, and depending on how I'm feeling and what I want to do. And I think it's because those are the clearest parts of the race. And so I really just want to make sure that I'm saving my energy and like gonna really be ready to give it everything that I have come that last lap. And not run like 15 more meters than everyone else.
Yeah, I guess it is tricky because now everyone can run 3:31, 3:30 pace. It's not like in that sort of race someone's going to drop off. Do you know what the pacing is going to be tomorrow at all?
Yeah, I think it's 151 and 218 for a K or something. So very fast. I mean, Brussels was. I don't know what Brussels was paced at, but I wasn't paying attention. But it still probably was faster than it is at Brussels, and I feel like a faster race especially is also going to make the difference on like how crowded a race is going to be. Also, there being like 10 people versus like 18. So yeah, all those things I think are just going to be important to keep in mind.
And you've won here the last 2 years. So does that give you a bit of confidence going into this one, knowing that this stadium is kind of now your house a little bit?
No, the stadium's always been special to me, and honestly, even that first one was kind of like it was like I won by like 100th of a second or something to Josh, and I feel like just I've always enjoyed my time in Zurich, just like more than any other Diamond League meet. And, on league headquarters here is also nice. I feel like I always just have a lot of people in this crowd cheering for me. And, I think that does help a little bit, at least, just for, I feel comfortable here. I feel good here. I race well here. So.
Was the Diamond League final always the plan, or was that a shift based on USA's?
Well, it was my plan. I was basically begging Dathan the entire time to oh, let me run the Diamond League final.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you don't have enough points. And I was like, okay, but what about the wild card thing? And then we went for that right before USA's, and they were like, yeah, but Jakob also is in line for that. And I was like, and they're gonna pick Jakob over me. And so I was kind of like, I would do it if they let me, but I wasn't going to if they picked Jakob.
Absolutely. So yesterday they announced Jakob was actually denied because he hadn't run a previous tussle.
Yeah, I remember that being one of the rules, because I thought for sure he'd run Celestio or Brussels, but then he didn't, and I was like, I guess he's not coming to Zurich then.
So what's your mindset coming into this race? Is this almost as a true final for you, and you're moving on to Tokyo's on the back end, or is this kind of just a qualifier and you get to get what you get to get through and try and move on?
I think mentally I'm kind of treating this as a world champs style final, because again, like I said in there, if I don't win, I don't go to Tokyo. So it really has to be an all or nothing sort of moment for me, and just putting it all out there and thinking that this is going to be my last race so that I can perform like it's my last race. And then if I make it to Tokyo, it's I'll feel very confident about how I will do at Tokyo, because I'll know at that point that I'm really fit. So.
There is undoubtedly pressure there, as we've just said, but when it comes down to you personally, how do you cope with that pressure? Is there anything that you do talk to yourself in your mind to get that there and to get you on the start line tomorrow?
No, yeah. I think a lot of times, everyone has doubts. You have them circling through your head, and I think, for me, a lot of times just kind of focusing on the thoughts that I want to focus on. Whether for every thought that's oh no, what if I fall, or what if I lose, or something like that, there's always going to be another that's well, what if I pull away from the crowd and run 3:25 and it's so awesome, crazy, you never know. That's why I always try to combat negative what ifs with more positive ones, and just kind of continually fuel that I know I can do this. I can maybe even perform better than I think I can, and I know for sure that I'm not going to get there if I'm not believing in myself to do so.
Have you sat down and got a plan in your head of how you want to race it tomorrow? Or are you just going to kind of see how it goes and take it from there?
I'm actually going to talk to my coach today, so we will discuss it thoroughly and come up with a good sort of plan. But it's definitely one that I want to feel I want to race a race that I'm proud of at the end of the day. So.
And let's forget about US trials and the last month perhaps, but if you were able to look back on your whole season as a whole and how it's been from the start, how do you reflect on it? Because you have had some really great moments.
No, it has been a really good year. I think, I've had some lows that I feel can maybe overshadow some of the other great things I've done, but I really am proud of a lot of my races this year, and how I put myself out there, whether it was the 800 at the Grand Slams, or that world record I ran indoors, or even just at pre, even with Niels beating me, I still just went for it, and I think I've never had a race where I went for it and died to the degree that I did, but I think I was still really happy that I kind of went for it at all. So yeah, no, there's really, like I said, there's so much to be proud of in this season, and no matter what happens tomorrow, I'm still going to be happy with it.
We've talked about being a long season. Obviously, that long season include things like the world record. Do you sort of credit that to giving you more experience with the different tactics races can play out? Maybe it's not always a fast race, it might not be tomorrow with the weather. Do you sort of use that as experience, or is it more races than you may have liked?
Honestly, I don't think. Well, maybe lately with the whole Celestio Brussels Zurich thing, but I think in the 1500 you can race a lot more than people think. Jakob traditionally will race every Diamond League and just kind of keep going. And I feel for us, our distance kind of allows if you recover well enough to really bounce back quickly. And so no, I think honestly, even at the beginning of the year with the Grand Slams, I was kind of I kind of want to do more. It doesn't feel like 800 was enough of a race, so it's kind of I've raced a race and a half. But I'm always going to enjoy racing, and it's what we all love doing the most. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.